Project converting an Ender 3 Max to a basic Voron switchwire design. And I'll have to apologize up front for my lack of space and how cramped this is going to be, but just going to touch on a few modifications that need to be made right here in the beginning. But the intent is to do this with as little modification of the frame as possible. Some of the kind of obvious problems on the Voron switchwire design: the gantry uprights are mounted on the top of the base extrusions, where on the Ender 3 Max they're actually slotted into the side on both sides. Same thing with the center extrusion that supports the bed. This is the original extrusion. This is the only extrusion I felt necessary to replace. And again, it is slotted into the base extrusions to accommodate the replacement. I put a couple of spacer parts in to get this at the right height. If you don't do that, if you just set it down in the slot and connect it, once you get everything connected, the carrier for the timing belt will hit the center base extrusion. Mounting the table, because the center extrusion is now off center, you're off center by 10 millimeters. So you find the center of the table. I did that by just roughly striking a line from opposing caddy corner mounting holes for the hotbed, and finding the center, moving over 10 millimeters and spotting a hole there, connecting the drill guide and drilling out the holes, and that's worked out just fine. I still need to drill the holes for the drag chain connection underneath the bed. In mounting the bed, which is the hotbed, which is a hard mount, not mounted on adjustable screws. Oddly enough, the spacers for the wheels for the carriage work out just fine as spacers for mounting the bed, till you get enough clearance in the middle here from the screws, and they're within about 0.02 millimeters of all being the same size, so that shouldn't be an issue. The other problem, again, I've already pointed out that the gantry uprights are outboard, not on top of, so for that I had to redesign the motor mount part. But we're very lucky in how these mount. This center base extrusion is mounted with 4 M5 screws that come in from the side. And oddly enough, the 2 upper screws, if you remove them, the motor mounts are dead nut in the right position, and you just need to get a slightly longer 5 millimeter screw. And they screw right in, so no drilling, tapping, or anything needing to be done for that. The center rail instead of 300 millimeters, I've got it at about 340 millimeters. I'll give the exact numbers on that. And by using 300 millimeter side rails and Z-axis rails, and the X-axis at 300 millimeters, going to lose a little height and a little X-axis. But I honestly, since I've had this, I've not had a lot of trouble with needing to print 350 millimeter tall things. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. The other thing, I'm still debating whether or not to try and use the Creality main board. I think it should work, since we're installing clippers running this thing. We'll see. I've got a BIQ or BQ version 1.3 turbo board that I can use. I had already converted my Ender 3 Max to clippers, so I've already got a Raspberry Pi, and we'll see how this goes. I'm waiting on a few additional parts, and we'll see how it works. Now, one other thing that I've run into, given how much the X-axis pushes the tool head well forward in order to cover the print bed, there's a considerable amount of stick out of the bed coming forward, which, for this 20 millimeter extrusion, there's quite a bit of stick out, so I'm not sure. I may need to use a bit of that center extrusion to make another support to put here in the front. But we'll see how that all works out, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I'll have another update in a few days. Thank you.